Welcome to Catching Up to Real Estate. I'm Charlene Lewis, and I got my producer Anna here with me, who, by the way, ain't even in real estate. So if you've ever felt lost in all the market talk, trust me, you're not alone. We're breaking it all down: buying, selling, investing, and even how real estate pops up in culture. And just so we're clear, we're talking Washington State real estate. So if you're trying to make moves here or just make sense of the market, we got you. Let's catch up to real estate. Tap in. Welcome back to Catching Up to Real Estate. I'm your host, Charlene Lewis. I'm a real estate agent here in Washington State. And this episode, it is Shift or Standstill. We're catching up to the spring market. And so we're going to discuss that the inventory is rising, buyers are hesitating, and the government's throwing curveballs. We'll unpack what's really going on. We're going to go over our statistics overall. And it's kind of the same as when we started the last episode. Basically, pending sales are down from last year, so it's a slower market than last year. Active listings have increased, so there's a lot more inventory building up. Depending on the market or depending on the county is where we'll see who's actually busy. Okay. Now, median sales prices are still holding strong, even rising slightly, which I think we've discussed in the last episode as well. It is increasing in the three counties that I normally focus on, which is King County, Pierce County, and Thurston County. And it is increasing not by 5% or 10%, but just enough. And it's pushing forward. Okay. Now, the amount of properties that are staying on the market or days on market can be inferred to as increasing. But based on the growing inventory and dropping pending sales, that will indicate that it is, it is increasing in inventory. So what this means for buyers: more inventory, more choices. Less competition may mean room to negotiate. Price, closing costs, and repairs, those are easy to negotiate into those deals. And if you've been waiting for a better time to buy, this actually might be it, especially before rates shift again, right? And if you're a seller, if you want to know what that means for you, well, if you're in the market to sell your property, you're going to have to price it competitively. You're going to have to stage it well. You're going to have to make your house stand out. So that's why you're going to need an agent to help you with the process, okay? Homes are not flying off the market like they used to 1 or 2 years ago. And prep time and marketing is very, very important for your sale. Okay. High equity sellers still have an advantage, especially those who bought before 2020. So, if you did buy before 2020, when it did increase in value, good for you. You might actually gain from this. So what this means for investors as far as the market is going right now, technically means if there are fewer buyers, then there's better acquisition opportunities for investors. You might want to be looking for motivated sellers, especially the houses that are sitting on the market for longer than 30 days. Those actually might be the ones that are willing to take your offer, because at some point, if they really need to sell, they're going to go for whatever deal that you're offering them. Okay. Consider multifamily or rentals, because prices are stable right now and inventory is up. So, and that's true. I just shared a couple of properties with a client right now who's looking for a multifamily. And he's, qualifies up to like 600,000. So that's a, pretty decent price range. But your the return on investment potential could increase if you get this property now and hold that rental steady for a while. Okay. Now we're going to dip into our county information. Okay. For King County, inventory is flooding in, but according to the statistics right now, because of the pending sales, buyers may be holding back. But I can say that those who are functioning in the market right now, who are purchasing, the actual buyers, there's a lot more cash buyers going on in King County than there are in Pierce and Thurston County. So there is a shift going on. So there's a strong buyer opportunity if sellers become motivated. At this point, Sellers are not as motivated yet, but I believe that once the summer starts, they will actually, want to take either a lower cut or depending on how the market's going to be within a month or two, we'll see how that works. Okay. Median sales price right now, I guess, is 849,000. That is up from last year. But we were looking at pending statistics last, and that hit $1 million last month. So we'll see how this month ends, and we'll be able to provide you those statistics at the end of on the next episode. Okay, Pierce County. As far as the statistics in Pierce County, it's still appreciated, but with a noticeable shift in momentum. Like I said in the last market update, Pierce is becoming more balanced. It is a healthier market. So likely moving forward, a neutral or buyer-friendly market in coming months. So we'll see how that works in the next few months for spring, But as far as Thurston County works, it's interesting because it was increasing in value, and I was very positive about how it was appreciating. But currently right now, this month is showing that the supply is growing fast. There's a lot more new listings. It's like 36% more than last year. And the pending sales are dipping. So pending sales were down 10% compared to last year. So we are increasing in listings, but we are down in the amount of sales. So in this statistics, we are now understanding that there might be a dip soon in that area. So, which is unfortunate, but this is just all speculation until we see the next few months. Okay. So a hot take summary right now. Inventory is up big time. All 3 counties are up from last year. So there's a lot more properties right now. If you're in the market to buy, then you're probably in a good position, especially if you have enough leverage. Okay. Pending sales are down. So like I said in the beginning of the year, buyers are more cautious and more educated about their decision right now. So they are taking their time to decide. Also, there's a lot of things that are going on in politics right now that we will be discussing here shortly that may affect buyers and sellers alike. So, what I would tell my clients right now, if you are a buyer, you've got more options and more power now than you've had in the last 2 years. So don't sleep on the opportunity to negotiate. Okay. So let me know. I'll be there to help you negotiate your deal. Sellers, you want to make sure that your house is priced correctly. You want to prep the property and move fast because the market's shifting and the buyers are savvy. You see, buyers are getting more educated. So, if you are a seller, you want somebody who is a professional who can help you through your process of selling your property to get the most money out of your investment. Okay. But for my investors, personally, I'm not a huge fan of, big high turn investors, but for you investors, this is your time to strike. Like, honestly, I think you understand seasonality. Once it hits around May, June, that's when the market starts hitting hard. So if you get the prices lower now, by the time it starts getting high demand, it will increase in value or pricing, and you will not cash flow or you will not get the numbers that you want as soon as accordingly when you're creating your portfolio. Okay. So that's my advice for you guys this episode. So shifting into understanding what's going on in the politics in the area, what does the government have to do with it, right? So politics, policies, and pocketbooks. Let's discuss that the interest rates are not dropping. Like the federal funds rate is not getting cut, and we might not even see it get cut in the next meeting as well. And why does that matter? Well, it sets the tone for all the examples and costs of everything else that you purchase. So for mortgage loans, they actually have dropped in the last few months. Actually, in the last month, mortgage rates actually have dropped. But that doesn't mean it's going to continue to drop, because if the federal funds rate hasn't dropped yet because of uncertainty, the reason why lending had to drop their interest rate is because they need business going in order for them to still exist and keep moving in their industry. Okay. But let's discuss the state and local changes that have happened. Washington State zoning reforms and all that good stuff, right? Let's go over that because I think it would be something that we have to discuss as a collective in this. So let's go over this right now. As far as Washington State housing legislation, they actually proposed the rent stabilization efforts. Let's see, HB 1217. So the House Bill 1217 aims to cap annual rate increases at 7% to protect tenants from significant hikes, right? However, the Senate amendments raise the cap to 10% plus inflation, excluding single family homes, causing concern among advocates who feel the bill itself, like its effectiveness, has actually been compromised. What do you guys feel about that? For me, on one hand, the 7% was valid, but increasing that cap to 10% plus inflation is a little bit greedy for investors, in my opinion. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Let's go on to the second portion of these housing legislations. So, transit-oriented development, the HB House Bill 1491. This bill mandates cities to zone for higher density housing near major transit hubs such as light rail and bus rapid transit stations. So, this includes provisions for affordable housing and offers incentives like tax exemptions and reduced impact fees for developers. Does anybody know how that feels? Does anybody have a feeling towards this bill right now? Because for me, zoning for higher density housing near major transit hubs, it's like training the city to be dependent on, public transportation, which might be good, might be bad. That depends. It's also giving tax exemptions and reduced impact fees for the developers. I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know how you guys feel about that either. But as far as providing more tax exemptions to developers who already make millions of dollars, is it reasonable? I don't know. I'm not a developer yet, so I wouldn't know what the actual implications that has on my business. But if I were to look at the implications that have on the economy in the area, we're discussing zoning and putting more housing close to transit stations. That might be beneficial to people who are not able to be efficient for themselves and not have to depend on public transportation, right? What type of economy do we want in Washington State? I think that's something that you guys have to think about, because if we're discussing housing, we cannot be quiet about it, okay? This affects everybody, okay? We're also talking about parking requirement reforms. There's a Senate Bill 5184 limits parking requirements for new developments, aiming to reduce construction costs and encourage more housing projects. Don't know how to feel about that yet either, but we'll give it some time and see actually how that impacts the community. Property tax cap proposal dropped. A proposal to increase the property tax growth cap from 1% to 3% was abandoned due to concerns about its potential impact. I mean, I think that's a great thing that it dropped, right? Because we don't want to increase that property tax growth up to 3%. We want to keep it low. We want to keep it at a reasonable pace. Washington State, we provide a lot of programs for our own state. We take care of our state, but we try to make it work within the budget, and I think that's the most important. We also have to have a little bit more due diligence on being transparent as to where this as to where our tax money goes to. That's always been my thing. That's always been my, thought process regarding taxes. But these are just some things that I think maybe the community wants to know more about regarding Washington State's housing legislatives and its initiatives. But let's zone in more on Tacoma specific initiatives, okay? There's a affordable housing investments. This initiative, the Tacoma City Council has approved $6.9 million for new affordable housing projects, contributing to a total investment exceeding $27 million. All I can say is I hope it actually provides affordable housing for our communities. In Tacoma, we definitely need a lot more. But, King County right now is not issuing any other new build permits currently at this time. Here in Pierce County, it takes about 4 to 6 months before you get approved for a new build. So this $6.9 million for new affordable housing projects, I feel like there has to be, I hope it's not just new developments. I truly hope that it's also rejuvenating old property as well in these programs that it's funding. But what do you guys think about that? You guys tell me what you think. Leave a comment or shoot me a text, however you want to do it. I'm all ears, okay? The other initiative that we're discussing here in Tacoma is comprehensive strategy to address the homelessness. So Tacoma is investing 2.24 million in permanent supportive housing services and has launched a $1 million street medicine pilot project to provide health care directly to unsheltered individuals. Well, we were just discussing 6.9 million for new affordable housing projects, and now a third of that budget it is being invested into permanent supportive housing and also healthcare directly to unsheltered individuals. I mean, I'm all for helping the community and I'm all for rejuvenating our system. So I hope this also helps. The zoning reforms for housing diversity. This is interesting. The city is implementing zoning changes to allow for diverse housing types such as duplexes and small apartment buildings in traditionally single family neighborhoods. There's a little bit to unpack there. I think it's great that we are, providing, they're reforming zones to in order for people to transform, say, a single family home into a duplex or a single family home into a small apartment building. I think it's great when you're trying to rejuvenate like the old buildings that nobody lives in anymore, or they have been abandoned, or they need to be repaired. I think that's great. But again, I think more people, normal people need to know more about this because, you actually, I don't know if anybody knows this, but you can get financed to purchase these types of families as an individual. And then you can upgrade it to this zoning reform and you'll be able to make some money as a person. Okay. So if you are interested in multifamily in this type of section, give me a call, give me a text, give me an email. I don't know however you want to contact me, but I can help you with that transition. Okay? All right. So that does conclude the information portion of all of this jazz. But I would like to kind of discuss with you guys, the buyer, seller, and investor vibes that are going on right now. Okay. If you're a buyer, I mean, at least with the buyers that I'm discussing things with right now, I have a couple of buyers who are afraid that their interest rate is too high, that when it goes to 3 years from now, refinancing still doesn't make sense for them. And I could hear that. I can understand that concern. But there isn't much that we can do about it. What you can do is make sure that the monthly mortgage payment that you will incur with your purchase is going to be that you're going to be comfortable with that for a long period of time. Because at the end of the day, if you're concerned about something that you can't fix later or fix in the future and in a short future, then it sounds to me like you want to eliminate that risk by not even making it a factor into your decision making. Okay. So make sure that you are secure in your purchase from the beginning. Don't make it something that, don't let people who tell you that you can get this loan where we'll lower your interest rate by 2 points up front, and then a year from now we're going to increase it by 3%, but then we're going to drop it down. Don't listen to those. Those adjusted rate mortgages are never going to be good for you. Okay. Always focus on a fully amortized loan. The reason why I want a fully amortized loan is that way you pay the one payment every month and it takes care of all the bills in one. And that, my friend, will be your success, okay? Because the only thing that increases on that cost is your property taxes. So give yourself a cushion, right? If you say, "Oh, I'm only comfortable with a mortgage of $3,000," well, bring it down a bit so that you can prepare yourself for the next 5 years of increase on your property taxes, or pay attention to what's going on with your property taxes. So that could be about 2,800. So instead of a $3,000 monthly budget that you're looking for, look for 2,800 a month, and then discuss that with your lender as a buyer. Okay. Now, seller hesitation. Let's discuss that. I do have a seller right now who is very concerned about selling the property and not getting the most out of it. But they are not willing to put in any work on their property. They just want to find somebody who can just pay for it. But the reality is that, if you want the most out of your house, you're going to have to do something to it in order for you to get the most. But if you're willing to let it go for a little bit less, then an investor will take that off of your hands and alleviate you of the stress, and you can move on to the next house. Okay. And if you're in that situation, give me a call. I'll help you out. I try not to get investors involved when it comes to listing property, mainly because I want my client to get the most out of their investment. But if time is an issue, then I understand, and I can find other solutions for you to alleviate you of that stress. Okay. Now, I actually do have an investor right now who is seeking, I think I discussed it with you guys earlier, that they're looking for a multifamily. And this person has been in the industry for a while. Now, he personally has not owned property. He's definitely done a lot of creative financing. But now he's kind of ready to utilize an actual loan to purchase property. We've been discussing a lot of, duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, and, anything that's multifamily or higher, right? And he's more afraid of not being able to find the best deal. I found a really good deal right now, though. If you guys are interested, if anybody out there is interested, there's a duplex that I've found on the market that on one side there is a tenant, and then on the other side it is empty. That is the most ideal situation you can find on a duplex. It's probably not going to stay on the market very long. So if you're interested, please contact me. I will be willing to show you the property and get you over there. Okay. Unless my client actually gets to it first, because we're actually already planning a showing if we can get it in. Okay. But anyway, that's what we're going to discuss. That's what we have discussed this entire episode. I hope the information I provided you guys today is informative, helpful, and, hopefully you learned something from it. If you didn't, well, shit out of luck. We'll see the next episode, okay? But DM me if you're curious about your area, and click the link in the bio to get your home value or pre-approval check, okay? And I hope I see you guys again on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to my banter, and I hope y'all have a beautiful day.